Hello, Allied Nation, and welcome to this edition of Live Q&A. We're talking all things new grads, so ready, set, travel. And before I introduce my special guest for today's episode, let's go over some housekeeping items. So if you are tuning in, please feel free to drop questions and comments right into chat, and we're going to answer those as soon as possible. Also, don't forget to visit us on the Instagram at AMN Allied, as well as at AMN Healthcare. And our super duper amazing Passport app. Go ahead and log in, create a profile, get those job notifications going. And you can also visit our community page where if you're a senior recruiter, that's actually my special guest. But if you are a senior traveler is what I meant to say, please feel free to upload a 10 to 15 second video with tips and tricks for those that might want to be hopping on to the travel train. So without further ado, let me introduce to you my special guest. Let's get it started off with Jess. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jess Adams. I am one of the senior recruiting consultants with AMN Healthcare Club Staffing. I was a PT in clinical practice for over 20 years, specializing in inpatient rehab, mostly spinal cord injury and stroke, multi-trauma. And then I transitioned halfway through my career and did a lot of outpatient orthopedics. I've been with Club Staffing as a recruiter for I guess a year and a half now, since September 2021. I primarily staff therapists, so PT, OT, speech, and assistants, as well as CFs. 50% of probably what I do is new grad placement. I love it. I think because I am a PT myself, I really enjoy staffing them and, seeing where they're going to be, traveling to for, upcoming assignments. Fun fact about myself is I do love the beach. I'm a runner and I enjoy my Peloton.
Nice. So Peloton, do you have like the treadmill or the bike?
The bike.
Yeah, well, I don't have Peloton, so I have to ask. All right, and then let's introduce our next guest, Will. Go for it.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Will, and I'm a physical therapist working with AMN. I've been working as a therapist for a little over 2 years, but had just started to travel therapy over back in October of 2022, so not too long ago. Things have been going well. I have a special interest in geriatrics. And one fun fact about me is that I love to watch The Office, can watch it over and over again without any issues.
So who's your favorite character on The Office? Is it, I feel like a lot of people say Steve Carell, but.
Oh, for sure. I mean, obviously I love the Jim and Pam story, but honestly, Reed, because he's just creepy and weird. He's crazy.
He just seems like a really stellar boss to have, maybe perhaps. All right. So without further ado, thank you, first of all, for introducing yourselves. We are going to kick it off with some awesome questions. So the first one goes to you, Jess. Tell us about our new grad program.
We have a great new grad program. So what it consists of is mentorship for all our new grads. We set them up with another, therapist, someone that can bounce ideas off, ask all their questions, someone that's other than the recruiter. We also have a CEU program through MedBridge that while on assignment, they're allowed to access all those online programs for free. We do offer some professional license reimbursement as well as state license reimbursement as well. And will attest to, some of the CEUs and the mentorship.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've taken full advantage of the opportunities to get CEUs and gain a mentor throughout my process as a travel therapist. It's been super helpful going forward, just having somebody that I can lean on and trust to be there when I have questions about certain things, or even just getting familiar with travel therapy in general with somebody that has years of experience that is there for any questions that I may have. And being able to do the CEUs on my own time outside of work has been super helpful to have that time to catch up and make sure I'm up to date on everything going on in the therapy world.
Awesome. Yeah. Mentorship and CEUs through MedBridge. I mean, pretty stellar program there. So thank you so much for sharing your experiences with the mentor program. That is definitely a huge highlight of our program that we are very excited that we offer. And these mentors are folks that are traveling, so they know what what's going on, what you're feeling currently while on assignment. So really, really good resource to have while you are a new grad traveler. Okay, next question to you, Will. What are the most important questions to ask your recruiter when you're just getting started in your new grad travel career?
Absolutely. The questions that I found most helpful for my journey is definitely making sure that you ask, what all settings are available and what all opportunities are available statewide. One big thing is whether it's a compact state or a non-compact state, you want to make sure you have that understood so you can understand when best to apply for a license. The compact states are a lot easier and a much quicker or faster process going forward versus some states like New York and California can take a while to get their licenses going. And so you just want to make sure that you have all of that information understood before you move forward. Another simple question to ask is preferred method of contact. I know Justin and I take a lot of time. We do phone calls, we do emails, texts, you name it. But having that line of communication preferred and understood between the two of you makes it a lot easier for your communication going forward.
Yes. And just to backtrack for the chat about the compact states, that is for PT specifically, but we do have the scoops on all the states with licensure timeframes. So we can definitely help out with that piece of information, which is good. All right. So back to you, Jess. What do you do to help your new grad clinicians get ready to step into their travel career?
Yeah, great question. Usually my initial conversation with them is, trying to figure out, their reason for travel, like what's their why, do they want to get different, experience in various settings as a new grad? Do they want to see the world, or, do they just want to save money, to pay off some of those student loans, which a lot of them do have. So I like to learn a little bit about themselves, dive into where their clinical experience was, and then sort of talk about states that they're considering traveling to, what they may be open to, what they're not open to, and then learning more, teaching them more about how it works with our company, like walking them through, once you decide that you do want to travel, what we need from you, whether we usually get a copy of an updated resume, make sure it has all their clinical experience listed. Then from there, we get references from them, usually 2 clinical supervisors references. After the files prepped, going through different job orders, trying to figure out, what setting they want to be in. We do talk about pay, and then usually I recommend submitting, out to 5 to 7 different jobs if, there's that many that's of interest to the clinician. And then once we submit, we go over interview prep. I remind them that once we submit, a facility can call at any time. So really making sure their voicemail is free. A lot of people do have clogged voicemail. And then once they do have the interview, and if they do get an offer, then we go over the offer together. I usually go by it by phone, and then I always email them. I like to see things on paper. So I email them, the breakdown of the pay. And then from there, they go through credentialing, which, I know is a whole nother step in the process.
We'll get into that in a little bit. Yeah, that's perfect. So, I mean, the huge part is, knowing that your recruiter is the subject matter expert when it comes to the market, and, you're looking for this particular area, lean on your recruiter for their knowledge for market conditions, and, throw out suggestions of, well, let's try here, let's try there, and really work together as a collaboration to get submitted out to jobs that are within your search radius, maybe a little bit outward, just to get you all of the options possible while you are searching for those jobs. So super cool. All right, Will. So I want to hop back into the mentorship program. Tell me, let's deep dive more into your experience with your mentor, because it's not necessarily like a structured thing. So go into, how it was set up and, how it's going thus far.
Right, absolutely. So it's a huge benefit of the new grad program, and basically you just let your recruiter know that you're interested in having a mentor, and from there, there's a system that's set up, and you'll get an email allowing you to go onto a platform that'll set up the mentorship process for you. and you'll get your mentor's name and contact information. And from there, you're able to communicate with your mentor and set up what times work best for you. Obviously, you may be in different time zones, so figuring out what works best for the two of you and what method of communication works best. And then from there, it's a really flexible process. So it's not something that has to be super structured, which I liked a lot because you can benefit with scheduling around your schedule and your mentor schedule to make it as easy as possible going forward. And of course, they're usually very open to, texting or calling at certain times of the day if you need them, or setting up a schedule, whether it's once every month or twice a month. That way you can have that open line of communication at any time for anything that you need.
Awesome. So what have you, just out of curiosity, what have you reached out to your mentor about?
All types of things. Things that we were in communication about was the how you go about doing your taxes. Starting as a travel therapist, it's a huge hurdle to get around at first, and it can be scary, especially for someone that hasn't really done the taxes before. And so he was able to direct me to, there's a site called Travel Tax, I believe, that is super helpful for travel therapists in general, that kind of walks you through a step-by-step process of how the tax process looks like when you're traveling from state to state and working in different states over the year.
Okay, great. And then one moment, I'm going to get a knock at the door and the dogs are going to bark. So just hold on one second. But I want you guys to continue on the conversation about tips and tricks for travelers.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay.
So one of the biggest tips that I have is making sure that you can go and visit your area as early as possible. Once you get your assignment, I recommend moving out at least a week before so that you can be able to check your commute time. You can ride to the facility, check out the traffic flow and things like that, so that when it comes to the day of your first day, that you don't have any issues, and you can make sure that you know exactly where you're going and where you're supposed to be. Another big tip is just making sure that you start the application process as soon as possible. I've done some contracts up in New York, and New York takes a very long time with their licensing process. So Jess was very helpful with helping me stay on task with that and just starting as early as possible, because sometimes there may be hiccups or additional information they may ask for your application in general. So the earlier you start, the less you'll have to deal with going forward.
Awesome. Actually, question, continuing on licensure, when you took so say you haven't taken your boards yet, like when did you apply for your first initial license as a PT? Did you do it before you took your boards or afterwards?
So it was after my boards, but I worked for a year before I started travel therapy, so it was a little different for me. But the good thing about it is that with Jess, she had kind of helped me understand that while I was applying for my New York license and waiting for it to come in, as long as you maintain that communication with your potential facility that, hey, I've already applied for the license, this is the expected arrival date or estimated time that it should come in. Most facilities are willing to work with that, because more than likely that license will come in on that estimated arrival date.
Okay, cool. And Jess, tips and tricks from your end on the recruitment side, what's going to set you all up as a team for success to line up the next assignment?
Sure. I did want to get back to the licensing.
Oh, yeah.
We have an awesome licensing team. So once a clinician, we did this with Will. Once we knew he had already applied for New York, and when he accepted the position at the facility, we loop in our licensing team just to make sure they check also to make sure everything's been completed. So there's no missing parts of the application. So that's a, really big benefit to having them on our team. And can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Just tips and tricks from your end on the recruitment side, just to set you both up for success looking into these assignments and getting one lined up for your new grad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really like to have a good relationship with the clinician. I, always check in with them, when they start the assignment, make sure everything's going okay. Any questions, issues, I try to, there's some clinicians I think that don't really need me to check in every week. And then there's some that do. I think that's a conversation between you and the clinician, but really making sure you have a good rapport. and setting them up for the next placement at week 6, we start seeing, well, do you want to see if the facility wants to extend you at all, or do you want to look for another placement? So that's what we did with Will. We knew his first assignment was in New York. He knew he wanted to go to Texas for the next one. So we started looking at, facilities in, for all of Texas. And then we narrowed it down to, I think it was the Houston area that he decided on. We definitely had a lot of options for him, but I just think, being in contact, whether it's, if it's not a phone call, it's a text or an email, knowing what the next step is, so we can always be ahead. And I just think having, those conversations all the time, so you have successful placements and relationships. My goal as a recruiter is just to keep, a clinician with me as long as I can, as long as they can travel with me.
Yeah, right. That's the point of building the relationship. So, I mean, the key takeaway there is definitely the communication piece. Without properly communicating what you want on your end, Will, to just properly communicating, well, hey, here's what the market looks like. It's not going to mesh well. It's not going to happen. But in terms of, transparency and just making sure you both are on the same page, in regards to not just you two specifically, but recruiter and traveler, to make sure that, Jess is able to provide the best service that she can as a recruiter to you, Will, as the traveler. And another thing to mention in regards to communication, don't ever feel like you're asking too many questions. The more, the merrier. You want everything answered as much as possible. So don't ever, because I used to get messages, I'm so sorry to bother. You are never bothering. That is what we're here for, to help answer those questions for you. Just a quick little break in questions, because we've gone over some really great content, but just a reminder to drop questions and comments in chat. And actually, we do have a couple. Eric, you can visit our main webpage, amnhealthcare.com, and visit our careers link for that question. Darlene said, I had a great recruiter, Ms. Adams, for my travel, which is great. I don't know if it's your traveler specifically, but I'm super glad to hear that you had a great recruiter. And then the next one is for new grad RNs. This is for allied sessions, so I'm actually not sure about how much experience is needed on our nursing side under AMN. But definitely feel free to visit our webpage under the nursing division, and they'll be able to assist you with that question. All right, back to business, guys. Where are we at? All right, so we did tips and tricks. Oh, so I love this question. Will, tell us about your favorite assignment. I want all the deets.
Absolutely. So by far, I know it's early in my travel career, but by far New York has been my favorite, where I've always wanted to live and visit, and being able to be there was absolutely amazing, from exploring downtown New York to even going into upstate New York and more of the countryside areas, and having that time to explore different areas. I would say my favorite moment from that experience was going to a Knicks game in the Garden. Like, I'm a huge basketball fan, and so being in MSG was absolutely mind-blowing for me. And then even just the relationships you develop. I'm still in communication with some of my coworkers from that rotation, and I can always remember the week of, or my last week there, we went out to dinner and just kind of bonded and got to know each other a little bit more. And it's the special part about travel that I really appreciate, is that you get to develop new friendships and relationships all around the country. It's a beautiful thing to see.
I love that. Yeah. So I grew up in Jersey, so I'm familiar with Madison Square Garden. Yes, it is very, very cool up there. So it's really cool that you got that experience. And then I love what you brought up about getting to your assignment early to figure out traffic patterns. So if you, are in the middle of nowhere compared to, inner city Manhattan, the traffic patterns are going to be different. So it's good to have that one up before you start your assignment. So you're not like, hey, I'm going to be late because I'm stuck in bumper to bumper traffic. Yeah. So yeah, and the city definitely provides traffic. Cool. Okay. All right. So next question to you again, Will. What are your top 3 things that are, if you knew then what you know now? So what would you tell your past self as you were setting out on your travel adventure?
Absolutely. So top 3 things that I wish I knew now is that for sure making sure to start that application process early. Even with New York, I thought that I started early enough, but there's things that'll come up, and sometimes they'll say they lose a file or they need more information. And so you may think that, oh, starting 3 months, 4 months out in advance is way too early, but honestly, it just saves a lot of time and stress in the end, just having all of your information ready to go beforehand so you don't even have to worry about it. Another tip is looking into all of your travel options. It may seem like you need to rush to get a U-Haul to move or something like that, but there's tons of ideas and things that you can do. Even I travel with my wife, and we don't bring a lot of stuff with us. All we have is a little cat we travel with, and so we were able to rent like a big minivan that was much cheaper than a U-Haul and still get our items to and fro. And so just making sure you check all the available options out there before locking into one specific option. And then the last one is just making sure that you remember that, you completed your physical therapy, occupational therapy, whatever program it is that you finished, you got through it. You're going to be a great therapist, so don't doubt yourself. You're going to be fine on your rotation. You can do this. Don't stress out too much about it. It's going to be a great, fun experience. And then on top of that is there's going to be plenty of opportunities to ask your coworkers. From my experience, all of my coworkers have been very, very available for any question that I have, and there for support for you. So it's never going to feel like you're out there in the dark. And of course, you get to ask all of those questions to your specific facility, and your recruiter will make sure that you're in a good zone or a good spot before allowing you to start each rotation.
Awesome. Jess, what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to say, just piggybacking a little bit on what he was saying, is I do think a lot of new grads, think that they may want to try a certain setting because maybe that's where their clinicals were. And I think when, the good thing about travel is the option to try some different settings. And I know it sometimes makes people nervous, but most of our clients are really open to new grads. A lot of them are. And if they're not open to new grads, we know that in the job order, there are some certain settings that do require experience, but for the most part, all our facilities will take new grads. They have the ability to. I think there's some things that make new grads anxious about trying new settings, but like Will said, I mean, you've gone through the training. A lot of them have had experience in those different settings. And then if not, sometimes the facilities are able to provide mentorship. I have a lot of people like Will that went from, outpatient, now he's in a skilled facility. It happens all the time. So be open-minded. I do have a lot of travelers too that think they just want to do outpatient, or they just want to do skilled, and they try another setting and they really enjoy it. So that's fun to see too. And the other thing I feel like might make new grads a little bit nervous is the housing situation. Like, how am I going to go about finding housing? AMN has so many resources that we share with our clinicians. I think I have an email with at least 40, which gives them different options for short-term rentals, or we do have discount codes for certain hotels or extended stays. And it's been super, super, super helpful for them in finding housing. I think just giving enough time is beneficial so they can find the housing that they really want.
Yeah. So, most jobs are posted with ASAP start dates, but you can still submit far in advance to get a job secured in order to get that housing set up. So that's a huge pro tip there. You don't have to wait until last minute to submit to these jobs. If you have your ideal location picked out, or you know what setting you want to go to, communicate with your recruiter, get submitted out to some jobs, even if it is, 6 or 7 weeks out in regards to start date. That's okay. It doesn't have to be all a rush situation. But on the housing topic, Will, what have you been most successful with for housing options?
Definitely Furnish Finder. I know just when we got set up, she sent me a PDF file with a lot of different housing options that I could look into. But Furnish Finder has been my easiest go-to. It's a simple app, and it makes it easy because they all come with fully furnished apartments. And so going from there, it makes it easy to just kind of pick up and go to each location. But I was definitely being able to reach out to different Facebook groups, family members that live in certain states that you may be able to reach out to and see if they know of any certain housing situations that you could tap into. But just keeping your options open, because there's places everywhere that you can stay.
Yeah, I'll say. There are some good options too. Like what a lot of people will do is they'll get to their assignment site and get a hotel room for like 1 or 2 weeks just to explore the area. And then, there are some rentals that don't even post on websites. Maybe they'll do local newspapers and whatnot. So if you are having difficulty finding housing on the interwebs, you can always try, local resources to try to find a rental within the area. So don't ever let housing necessarily stop you from going somewhere, because there are hotel chains. There's free continental breakfast usually at those. So that's pretty cool. Just saying, if you like pastries and stuff. But so that's another tip that I've heard from a couple of different travelers, especially in, Hawaii, where housing might be difficult, or here in Florida where it might be difficult because they are more seasonal type states. And then the other thing I wanted to ask, and now I'm having a brain fart. Oh, yes. Okay. So you said you traveled with your wife. Now, if the wife wasn't in the picture, no, I'm just kidding. But no, if she wasn't, do you think it would be cool to have a travel buddy? If you had somebody that traveled with you within the PT or, therapy world in general?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it would be very beneficial to just have somebody there that's going through the same things you're going through. Because while travel therapy is fun, there are going to be days where if you're living in a new state, of course, you don't have a lot of people to reach out to in that specific state. So it can be lonely at times if you don't have that support system. So I would definitely recommend traveling with a buddy, at least to just have somebody there going through everything with you, have somebody to share the experiences with.
Awesome. Yeah. So speaking of buddy travel, Jess, you want to talk about our referral program?
Yeah, absolutely. So we offer $1,000 if therapists refer a buddy or a friend. So once they complete a 13-week assignment, they would be eligible for that referral bonus. So we staff pairs all the time, PT, OT, PT speech, PT, PT. I do have a lot of travel pairs lately. So that's been fun to staff.
Yeah, it's always fun to have a travel buddy. Even if it is the spouse, that's cool. No, just kidding. And little announcement, Will is coming up. It's the 1-year anniversary coming up soon, right? With the wifey?
That's right.
Yay,
Yeah.
it's so exciting. And so, yeah, wish her congratulations from us here at AMN. That's so cool. So one other topic I wanted to go over is the credentialing phase and, pro tips of how to prepare for that. And then you can, those that are viewing this, you can also visit past live events, and you can check out our credentialing section. We actually had a credentialing supervisor and analyst on there to go over how to properly prep for credentialing. But Will, let's hear it from you. What did you do in order to prep for the credentialing phase, which is definitely more involved?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the biggest thing that has helped me so far from contract to contract is organizing all of my information, whether it be past medical history, driver's license information, just you name it, having all of that information in one specific file so that you can know where it is and pull from it easily rather than having to search for it across many different files like I had to my first time. So it's definitely a much easier and organized process when you just have everything together and in place. And then from there, it's pretty simple because you get your emails with a specific list of everything they need. And of course, if you're doing back-to-back contracts, you won't need the same things over and over again, but it's a pretty streamlined process.
That's awesome. So did you guys hear that? If you do a second assignment, credentialing won't be as painful. So get a second one lined up or extend. It's a great way to do it. Jess, what do you have to add to that?
I think the biggest thing about credentialing is just really being on top of the process, and, making sure as soon as, the credentialing analyst gets in touch with you, making sure you get that information to them as quickly as possible, because there are, things like the drug screen, the background check, the medical, that is time sensitive. So if you get that done quickly, it's a much smoother process for everyone involved.
Yes. Yeah. So definitely keep an eye out for emails, especially because that's where the bulk of information is going to come from. Credentialing will reach out to you by phone as well. That's a huge another piece of communication when you are officially accepting an assignment. make sure that you communicate to your recruiter when your best availability times are going to be. So that way, when the credentialing analyst does have to reach out to you by phone, they know, hey, phone, I'll get to that topic in a second, but when they have to reach out to you by phone, they know that they can reach out during this time so they're not interrupting, your work schedule, or if you're going on vacation, they know when to contact you. No, but so apparently this is like a generational thing. So people do this, whereas younger folks do this because it's cell phones. Isn't that funny? I saw a TikTok on it. I don't know. Anyway, all right. So another question popped into chat. Does one get reimbursed for traveling or rental car? And so we do offer travel reimbursements from your home location to your travel assignment. Rental car, so it just depends on the pay package, but I would definitely get in touch with a recruiter. If you do have an assignment that you're interested in, getting into, then you both can discuss how the pay package would break down if you are needing a rental car for your assignment location. Let's see. So Will, next question. Where are you going to go next?
So I've got my eyes set on California for the next one. I guess we're
Really?
going to go and check that out.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so do you want to go to the Northern California or SoCal?
Definitely, ideally want to be in SoCal, but wherever the opportunity is, I'm looking forward to exploring from top to bottom either way.
Awesome. Yeah, man. California is a crazy state because you have those amazing cities, but then you have these nature spots that are just unbelievable. So that'd be so cool. Have you already started your licensure process?
I'm on it. I'm on top.
Yes. Pro tip. No.
We better have.
Right. Well, I think that concludes, unless you both want to add anything additional in terms of tips or tricks or just encouragement for new grads to, while you can, get out on the travel train.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say that anybody that's interested, take it from me. It's worth it. Take the leap of faith. It'll change your life, and it'll really instill in you to have that confidence and experience going forward. It's an awesome thing.
Now, I was just going to say, any recruiter with, AMN Healthcare would be happy to, speak to a new grad about the travel process, to ease any concerns that they had, and would love to have anyone come with AMN and travel.
Yes, travel. Woo! All right, so we are going to conclude this episode. Again, you can always go and view past lives. And then, of course, you can join our AMN Allied community. The QR code is right at the bottom of the screen, which is awesome. So all you have to do is just take a picture from your phone, not your phone. But just to follow up and conclude the show, make sure you visit us on our Instagram pages at AMN Allied and at AMN Healthcare. And also download that most amazing app, Passport. It's downloadable on Android and iPhone. You can set up your profile, set up job notifications, but also check out the community page where we will have seniored travelers be posting videos on their experiences and pro tips. So super exciting stuff. But without further ado, that concludes our show. Thank you so much, Will and Jess, for joining me today, talking all things new grad. And I look forward to seeing you all on our next live. And of course, thank you so much for all you do every day out there in the healthcare world. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.